South Africa's Western Cape is bracing for the most severe storm system in over a decade, with meteorologists warning that disruptive weather patterns could reshape the region's agricultural and economic landscape. While Pakistan vs South Africa cricket matches capture headlines, Mother Nature is preparing her own contest against one of Africa's most strategically important provinces. This isn't just another weather report, this is about how extreme weather is becoming Africa's new reality, and how our continent must adapt to survive and thrive. Today, we're breaking down what these storms mean for South Africa, the Western Cape's critical role in Africa's economy, and why this weather pattern signals something much bigger for our continent's future. To understand why these storms matter so much, we need to understand what the Western Cape represents for South Africa and Africa as a whole. The Western Cape isn't just another province, it's South Africa's agricultural heartland, producing 70% of the country's wine exports and generating over 400 billion rand annually for the national economy. That's roughly 14% of South Africa's entire GDP coming from this one province. Historically, the Western Cape has experienced severe weather, but climate scientists are noting an alarming trend. Over the past 5 years, extreme weather events in the region have increased by 40%, with agricultural losses exceeding 12 billion rand in 2024 alone. The 2015 to 2018 drought nearly brought Cape Town to day zero, the point where municipal water supplies would have been completely exhausted. No major city in the developed world had ever faced such a crisis in modern times. But here's what makes this current storm system different and more concerning. Unlike the seasonal storms the region typically experiences, meteorological data shows this weather pattern forming during an unusual time of year, with wind speeds projected to exceed 120 km per hour and rainfall potentially reaching 200 mm in just 48 hours. To put that in perspective, that's nearly half the region's annual rainfall in 2 days. Like this video to help more Africans stay informed about critical developments affecting our continent. The current meteorological analysis reveals something unprecedented. The South African Weather Service has issued their highest level warnings for multiple districts simultaneously, something that's only happened 3 times in the past 20 years. Wind speeds are expected to peak at 150 km per hour in coastal areas, while inland regions could see sustained winds of 100 km per hour for over 12 hours. What makes this particularly dangerous is the timing. These storms are hitting during the peak of harvest season for several critical crops, including grapes destined for South Africa's 4.2 billion rand wine export industry. Agricultural economists estimate that even a moderate impact could result in crop losses exceeding 8 billion rand, affecting over 250,000 jobs directly tied to agriculture in the region. The infrastructure implications are equally serious. The Western Cape's electricity grid, already strained by national load shedding challenges, could face additional pressure as high winds threaten transmission lines. The province's ports, which handle 30% of South Africa's container traffic, have already begun implementing storm protocols that could disrupt regional trade for days. The key players responding to this crisis represent a coordinated effort across multiple levels of government and society. Western Cape Premier Alan Wind has activated the Provincial Disaster Management Centre, coordinating with national authorities and municipal teams across 30 different local government areas. South African National Defence Force units have been placed on standby, with helicopter crews prepared for emergency evacuations and supply drops. This level of military readiness for weather events reflects how seriously authorities are taking climate-related threats to national security. The Department of Agriculture has deployed teams to work with farmers on emergency crop protection measures, while the Department of Water Affairs is monitoring dam levels and flood risks across 15 major river systems. Private sector response has been equally comprehensive. Major agricultural cooperatives like Distel and KWV have implemented emergency protocols developed after previous weather disasters, including mobile harvesting teams and temporary storage solutions. Insurance companies are bracing for claims that could exceed 5 billion rand, based on preliminary risk assessments. Subscribe for honest, Pan-African analysis of the stories that shape our continent's future, analysis you won't find on CNN or BBC. Here's why this matters far beyond South Africa's borders. This storm system represents the new reality facing all of Africa as climate patterns shift globally. What happens in the Western Cape doesn't stay in the Western Cape. This region's agricultural output feeds markets across southern Africa, from Botswana to Mozambique. Disruption here creates ripple effects throughout the Southern African development community. But here's the Pan-African perspective that mainstream media misses completely. While Western powers continue to lecture Africa about climate change while being the biggest historical polluters, African nations like South Africa are developing some of the world's most innovative adaptive strategies. The Western Cape's disaster management protocols, developed through hard experience, are now being studied and implemented across the continent. South Africa's investment in renewable energy infrastructure, partially driven by climate adaptation needs, has created opportunities for technology transfer across Africa. Solar and wind projects in the Western Cape are generating not just electricity, but expertise that's being exported to Nigeria, Kenya, and Ghana. This is Africa solving African problems with African innovation. The agricultural techniques being developed to cope with extreme weather, from drought-resistant crops to precision irrigation, represent African expertise that the continent can leverage for food security across all 54 nations. Looking ahead, what we are witnessing in the Western Cape is a preview of Africa's climate future, but also Africa's climate leadership. While developed nations struggle with political gridlock on climate action, African nations are implementing practical solutions out of necessity. We're not just adapting to climate change, we're innovating our way through it. The storm hitting the Western Cape will pass, likely within 72 hours according to current projections. But the lessons learned, the systems tested, and the resilience demonstrated will contribute to a continental knowledge base that makes all of Africa stronger. This is what mainstream media doesn't understand about Africa. We don't just survive crises, we use them to build something better. The infrastructure improvements, early warning systems, and community preparedness protocols developed in response to extreme weather are creating a template for climate resilience that the entire world needs. As these storms approach the Western Cape, remember that you're witnessing not just a weather event, but Africa demonstrating its capacity to face 21st century challenges with innovation, coordination, and determination. This is the Africa rising that no storm can stop. Check out this next video where we explore how African nations are leading global climate innovation while Western powers lag behind. The resilience we're seeing in South Africa today is being replicated across our continent, from Morocco's solar projects to Ethiopia's reforestation initiatives. Comment below with your thoughts on how African climate leadership is changing global conversations about environmental solutions.